The knife slipped fast. No warning, no hesitation, just a slice down the side of her thumb like the wood fought back. Blood hit the floor in 3 drops before Ellie realized she'd stopped breathing. She stared at the carving in her lap. A wagon. A little wooden wagon with iron-pegged wheels and tiny cross rails she didn't remember shaping. She dropped it. It rolled a little on the dirt floor like it wanted to leave. Ellie clutched her hand, breath sharp, and blinked hard. That's when she saw him. A man. Thin face. Split lip. Dead eyes. Badge on his chest. Crooked. He didn't smile. Didn't blink. Just looked at her like he'd been waiting a long time. Then he said her name. Ellie. She stumbled back, slammed into the workbench, knocked over the water tin. She blinked again. Empty barn. Just the smell of dust, blood, cedar. No man. No sound, but the wagon was still there, sitting like it always had been. She ran. The screen door banged open, then shut, the wind catching it. She rushed inside, holding her hand up. Blood dripped down her wrist. Nora looked up from the kitchen sink. "You hurt?" "I cut it." "Let me see." Ellie held it out. The cut was deep but clean. Sharp blade, new wood. Her thumb throbbed, heartbeat steady in it. "What were you carving?" "I don't know." "Looks like a wagon." "I wasn't thinking." Nora wiped her hands and took the dish towel, wrapped it around Ellie's hand fast and tight. "Have you ever seen one like that?" "No." Nora stared, not at the cut, at Ellie. "That's saddle reachers." Ellie blinked. "What?" "Nothing." "No. What did you say?" "I said it looks like Saddle Reacher's wagon." "Who's that?" Nora didn't answer. Ellie's voice sharpened. "Grandma." Nora turned, opened the drawer, pulled out a roll of gauze like she hadn't heard. "I don't know any saddles." "You do." "Stop talking." "I saw him." That stopped Nora. She turned back. "You what?" "I saw a man. Right after I cut myself. He had a badge." Nora didn't move. "Split lip," Ellie said. "He said my name." Nora took the towel away and started wrapping Ellie's thumb, slow, precise. The barn sat quiet through the kitchen window. Evening light hit it sideways, the kind of light that made you feel watched. Nora tied the gauze tight. "You finished carving?" "I guess." Nora nodded once. "Let's see it." Ellie didn't want to go back out there, but Nora already had her boots on. The barn door creaked. They stepped inside. Dust still hung where Ellie had kicked it up. The little wagon sat dead center on the workbench, facing them like it knew they'd return. Nora walked over, lifted it. The thing was heavy, more than it should have been. Too solid for something so small. She turned it over in her hands. "He made it like this," she said quietly, "even down to the wheel caps." "Who?" Nora set the wagon down and looked at her. "Saddle Reacher." "I don't know that name." "You ain't supposed to." "Why?" Nora didn't answer. Her face was tight, like a door halfway closed. "You said it looked like his," Ellie said. "You said it was his." Nora looked at the carving again. "He built one just like this when your mama was small. Maybe smaller. But I've never seen it before." "I know." "So how did I carve it?" Nora shook her head. "Tell me." "He's your granddaddy." The air shifted. Ellie stared at her. "What?" "I said he's your grandfather, my husband. You said you buried him." "I never said that." "You said he was dead." "I said he was gone." Ellie stepped back. "You lied." "I protected you." "From what?" "From him." The wagon creaked on the workbench. Neither of them touched it. Ellie looked down at her thumb. Blood had soaked through the gauze already. Her hand shook. "I didn't even think when I made it," she said. "That's worse," Nora said. "Why?" "Means you remembered with your hands." Ellie looked up. "What did he do?" Nora didn't answer. "What did he do?" "He made people disappear." Ellie's breath caught. "He was a lawman," Nora said. "Not the good kind, not the kind with justice in his bones. He did what the governor wanted." "And what was that?" Nora walked over to the barn door. Didn't look back. Whatever kept things quiet. The door creaked open, light spilled in, dust swirled like smoke. Nora turned to Ellie. "Bring that wagon." "Why?" "Because if you built it without meaning to, then something's waking up. And I need to lock it down." Ellie picked it up. It was warm now. Was he evil? Nora looked at her for a long time. He was necessary. They stepped out into the fading day. The wind picked up sharp and dry. The house looked smaller now. The sky is bigger, the horizon farther away. Ellie glanced at the wagon in her hands. The wheels creaked once. Just once. She held it tighter. Nora dragged the barn door shut. Her hand trembled on the handle. The lock clicked, cold metal against wood. Inside, the wagon sat on the workbench, alone again, dust rising around it. No wind inside, no breath, just silence, heavy and waiting. The truck rattled down the dirt road like it didn't want to be there. Heat pressed in through the windshield, heavy and still. No wind, no bugs, just breathless silence and the crunch of gravel under worn tires. Ellie kept her eyes on the fence line as they passed it. Barbed wire sagging, dry weeds tall as the hood. She didn't ask where they were going. Nora didn't say. They hadn't spoken since the barn. The glove box rattled open. Nora reached over, slammed it shut again. Ellie looked out of the side window. "You're driving too fast. No one else drives this road. I didn't even know it was a road. Most folks pretend it ain't." They hit a dip, bounced hard. Ellie's hand grabbed the door. "Are you still bleeding?" "No." "You sure?" I said no. Nora didn't nod, just kept driving until the path narrowed, then stopped at a crooked fence half swallowed by vines. She killed the engine. The silence after the hum was worse. Ellie looked out. A hill, overgrown and sunburned. No signs, no names, just tilted wood crosses shoved into dry soil like warnings, not graves. Nora got out without a word. Ellie followed, boots sinking in soft dust. Her wrapped thumb pulsed in time with her steps. They walked up the hill slowly. "That one there," Nora said, pointing to a splintered cross set back from the rest. "He was your granddaddy." Ellie stared at it. "Saddle reacher?" They never called him that to his face. "Why not?" "Because he'd shoot you." The wind didn't blow, but Ellie's skin prickled anyway. Nora's eyes were on the ground, but she wasn't reading anything there. "He wasn't always bad," she said. "Not at first. Just quiet. Just useful." Useful for what? For the kind of things no one wanted written down. Ellie stepped closer to the grave. Nora sighed. He wore a badge, but it didn't mean justice. It meant silence. He made problems disappear. Who told him which ones? Nora looked at her. You already know. The governor. Back then, there were only two men folks feared, the one in the Capitol, and the one with dirt on his boots and no smile. Ellie crouched by the cross. No name, no dates, no flowers, just weeds and dead silence. So why's he buried here? Nora didn't answer right away. Ellie looked up. Why not the church lot? Because when the governor came for him, nobody claimed the body. But he had a daughter, Nora's voice caught, and she buried him in silence. Ellie stood. You? I dug it myself. Why? Because no one else would touch him. Not even the men he saved. Saved. Politically, not personally. Ellie stared at the wood. Nora wiped her hands on her jeans, though they weren't dirty. He thought legacy could be carved out of fear. Can it? You tell me. You built his wagon. I didn't mean to. Doesn't matter. They stood quiet. Heat hung like wet wool, the kind that made you dizzy just breathing. Has he ever hurt you? Ellie asked. Nora took her time answering. Not with fists, but with his choices. Ellie nodded once. Why'd you stay? Because leaving meant disappearing too, and I had your mama to protect. You didn't protect her from the truth. I protected her from the weight of it. You never said his name. I didn't want it in your mouth. Ellie crossed her arms. Too late. Nora's jaw tensed. Ellie turned back to the grave. What kind of name is Saddle Reacher anyway? He gave it to himself. Why? Because he thought reaching from the saddle meant he had the higher ground. That's stupid. He was stupid. Ellie stepped closer. The cross leaned when the wind hit, even though the wind hadn't been there a second before. You think he deserved this? I think graves don't fix anything. But people do. Nora looked at her. Then fix it. Ellie frowned. Fix what? Whatever he left behind in you. I didn't ask for it. Didn't say you did. They stood there, two shadows cut long across the hill. The other graves sat quiet, sunken, almost swallowed by the land. Some barely looked like crosses anymore, just splinters stuck in the dirt. Ellie walked past a few, read no names, because there weren't any. Just lines carved with knives. Some crosses were burned at the edges. Some were split down the middle like someone had tried to break them later. Do they all like him? Most. Who buried them? Nora shrugged. Wives, daughters, men who owed favors. No markers? No memories. That's what happens here. If you go too far, yeah. Ellie crouched again, near one grave half covered in weeds. She brushed them aside. Just dirt and stone. Nothing to show who'd ever been there. Have you ever thought about digging him up? No. Why not? Because bones don't answer questions. Ellie picked up a small rock, rolled it between her fingers. She didn't know what she was doing. You're mad, Nora said. I don't even know him. Don't have to, but you do. Nora looked away. Not anymore. Ellie dropped the rock. It hit the dirt with a soft thunk. You gonna tell Mama? No. She won't ask. She never asks. Thunder rumbled low and long behind the hills. No clouds, no lightning. Just sound. Ellie looked up. Storm coming. No. Then what is that? Old noise. Ellie stepped back to Saddle Reacher's grave. Her thumb ached again under the gauze. You think he knows we're here? I think he's always here. Ellie knelt, put her hand on the top of the cross. It wobbled slightly. Do I leave something? No. Why? Because he already took too much. The thunder rolled again. Closer now. Still no clouds. Ellie stood. Let's go. Nora nodded once. Don't look back. Ellie didn't. As they turned down the hill, the wind picked up again. Steady now. And behind them, the wood creaked. Not the trees, just the crosses. All of them. And at the top of the hill, one girl left a drop of blood in the dirt where memory refused to stay buried. The bell above the feed store door didn't ring right anymore, came out bent and wheezing, like the place was tired of getting looked at. Ellie stepped through it anyway. Heat followed her in. The place smelled like molasses, rope, and dry alfalfa. She nodded once at the man behind the counter. He didn't nod back. She didn't care. She walked straight to the corner where the grit bags were stacked and grabbed two. They weren't heavy. Not really. But the cut on her thumb throbbed when she lifted them, and the gauze was brown at the edges now. She could feel something slow and mean working its way under her skin. She paid in cash. No small talk. Nobody offered it. She stepped back out into the heat and dropped the bags in the truck bed. Then she saw him, leaning against the side of the store, arms crossed, too clean, too pressed, smiling like it cost him nothing. Caleb. He looked like he belonged to something, maybe the land, maybe the courthouse, maybe just the name stitched into his shirt pocket. Ellie, he said. She didn't answer, just walked past him toward the driver's side. You Reacher's blood. She stopped, turned halfway. Don't know. That's a lie. Then don't ask me questions. He straightened off the wall. Boots clean, shirt tucked, Daddy's badge clipped right on his belt, like it meant something. You carved that wagon yourself? She narrowed her eyes. Have you been watching me? Small town. That's not an answer. He stepped closer. He made one like that. Ellie's voice was flat. Who? Saddle Reacher. I don't know him. Your hands do. She didn't flinch. You remember it? No. Then don't speak on it. My daddy does. I don't trust your daddy. You don't have to. Ellie turned fully now, arms crossed. What do you want, Caleb? He took a second, looked past her to the truck bed, then back. I think you're carrying something dangerous. It's just grit feed. Not what I meant. She looked at his boots. You sheriff yet? Not yet. Then stop talking like you are. He smiled again, but it didn't stick. Your grandfather put my uncle in the dirt. My condolences. Caleb stepped closer. He didn't use a bullet. He used fear. Cut him out of the town slowly. Nobody spoke his name for 2 years. Then he vanished. Ellie didn't blink. You blame me. I blame memory. She leaned back against the door. Your daddy sent you? No. He knows you're talking to me? Caleb's jaw tightened. He said if I saw you, I should keep walking. Then maybe you should. He didn't move. Wagon looks the same. Same rails. Same curve in the yoke. Ellie's voice dropped. I never saw it before. You sure? I built it without knowing why. Maybe you were supposed to. Ellie turned, reached for the truck door. Get out of my way. Caleb held up both hands but didn't step aside. You think you're clean. You think just 'cause you didn't meet him, you don't carry him. I didn't ask for this. No one does. She opened the door. You done? Not yet. Ellie stared at him. Then say it. Caleb leaned in, voice low now. My father pisses himself when your name comes up. She didn't smile. Good. He looked at her one last time, then stepped back. Your blood's old, not clean. It remembers. Ellie climbed into the truck without another word. She slammed the door and turned the key. The engine coughed once, caught. Caleb didn't move as she backed out. Just watched. Still too clean. She drove slowly past the courthouse. No cars parked out front. The flag above it hung limp. Nothing moved. At the stop sign, she checked the rearview mirror. Caleb still stood there, watching. She didn't wave, didn't nod, just turned the corner and kept going. The road home was mostly dust. She didn't realize until she pulled into the driveway that her pocket felt lighter. She reached in, heart picking up. The wagon wheel was gone. The old jail sat behind the graveyard, swallowed in vines and silence. Windows busted out, roof half caved in. One shutter still hung on, banging lazy in the breeze like it didn't care what time had done to it. Ellie pulled the fence gate open with both hands. The hinge screamed and then gave way. Inside smelled like piss, rust, and heat. She stepped through the doorway slowly, boot crunching on glass. Light filtered in dusty sheets. The walls sweated tar from the years. Old paint peeled in strips like snakeskin. She knew this place. Not in the way someone knows a building, in the way someone knows a feeling. 3 cells down the right side, doors all open. Rusted iron bent in places like someone fought hard once and lost. A desk up front, half split from water damage. Typewriter with no ribbon. Dust thicker than cloth. She walked behind it. Pull open one drawer, empty. Another, nothing but lint. The bottom one stuck. She yanked. It creaked open slowly. Inside was a leather-bound notebook tied with twine. Black cover, frayed at the corners. No name. She untied it. Pages yellowed, some warped from heat. Handwriting messy, tight. She flipped past lists of names, times, a few ink sketches of cell layouts, then found the first one with weight in it. Reacher said the governor's got no teeth unless someone gives him a jaw. He laughed when he said it, even with blood on his shirt. Ellie sat down in the crooked chair. It tilted under her weight. She read faster. They brought the girl in right after sundown. Said she lied to someone important. Reacher didn't ask who. Just told them to clear the cells. He carved something that night. Didn't see what. Just wood curls on the floor and the sound of his blade for hours. Ellie turned the page. He said memory's a bullet if you load it right. Said he didn't trust time to do the job anymore. Said the governor was a suit with wet hands. Said the town only stayed quiet because someone kept the ghosts fed. She stopped, blinked. The air felt heavier now. She flipped forward. That last hour he put on his badge like it mattered. Told me he'd never wear it again. Told me he'd burn it with the wagon. Ellie turned the next page. Then the girl screamed. And he laughed. Said, "That's the sound the governor wants." No ending. Just a torn corner and smudged ink. Ellie looked up. Nothing moved. The vines outside scratched the broken glass like fingernails. She looked back down, flipped further, near the back, scrawled rough and fast. He carved 3 wagons total. 1 for her. 1 for the boy. 1 for the one that wasn't born yet. Ellie's stomach flipped. She flipped back. Read it again. 1 for the one that wasn't born yet. She looked at her hand. The bandage was damp again. She whispered to the room. He knew about me. Dust floated. Light shifted. She stood, notebook in hand. I walked to the first cell. The door hung open. Inside, the cot still had a chain through the frame. Rusted metal bucket in the corner. The floor was scored in loops, like someone dragged something heavy in circles. She walked to the second cell. Nothing inside but bones of a cot. Burn marks on the wall. Black shot up the sides like a fire tried to climb out but gave up. The third cell was locked. She stepped close, looked in. The floor was clean. Too clean. She crouched. There was something carved under the bottom rail. Saddle. The letters were deep, scarred into the stone. She stood. I looked around. No keys. No bolt cutters. She pressed her forehead to the bars and whispered, "Why here?" No answer. Then she heard it. Knock. Soft. Behind her. She spun. No one, but something small hit her boot. She looked down. The wagon wheel, the same one that vanished from her pocket. It sat in the dust, unmoving. She bent down. I picked it up. Still warm. She didn't run. She didn't scream. She just stood there, wheel in hand, journal tucked under her arm, and listened. Because memory was moving again. And it wasn't done with her yet. The creek behind the barn wasn't deep, just wide enough for things to go missing in. Cattle bones, tools, names. Ellie stood at the edge, boots sunk in mud, the wagon wheel in her palm. It felt heavier now, like water already lived inside it. She didn't know why she came out here. She just knew she couldn't keep holding it. She threw it. It didn't skip or sink. It floated. Then it caught fire. No sound, no smoke, just an orange flame sitting on the surface like it belonged there. She stepped back. The wheel burned slowly. No ash, no scent. Then it rolled once in place, turned sideways, and disappeared under the current. The water went still. She stared at the creek, waited for the flames to come back. Nothing. By the time she walked back up to the barn, the sky was darker, the wind had dropped, the house looked smaller in the distance, like it didn't want to be seen. She didn't sleep. The walls creaked all night. The rafters moaned when they shouldn't have. Her thumb throbbed, but she didn't unwrap it. She sat at the kitchen table with a cold mug of tea she never drank. The floor felt crooked. The air is still. Around 3, the voice came back. "They drowned me, girl." Ellie didn't flinch, just stared at the far wall. "You ain't real." "But the fear is." She gripped the mug tighter. "What do you want?" "You know already." "Say it. Ask your grandmother what the governor wanted." "Why won't you tell me yourself?" "Because the ones who speak the truth don't live long in this place." She stood. "You're not him." "No, I'm what he left behind." She walked to the hallway. The voice didn't follow, just lingered behind her ribs. Nora's door was open. Not wide, just cracked. Ellie knocked once, then pushed it. Nora sat up fast, didn't reach for the lamp, just looked. "What?" "I heard him." "Don't start." "In the kitchen." "You're sleep-talking." "I'm awake." Nora rubbed her eyes. "What did he say?" "They drowned him." Nora didn't speak. "He said to ask what the governor wanted." Still silent. Ellie stepped in. "Did you know they were going to kill him?" Nora's breath caught. "No." "You're lying." "I knew they were going to erase him." "That's different." "What's the difference?" "Dead's dead. Erased means forgotten." "So they did drown him?" "They made it look that way." "But he didn't fight back." "He never fights the way people expect." Ellie sat on the edge of the bed. "You have to tell me the truth now." Nora leaned forward. "Your grandfather made people disappear." "Why?" "Because he knew what silence buys in a place like this." "Which is what?" "Time, power, distance." Ellie stared at her. "So he did what they told him." "For a while." "And then?" "He kept doing it even when no one asked." Ellie's voice dropped. "Because he liked it?" "No." "Because he thought it would keep you safe." "I wasn't even born." "Doesn't matter. He always worked ahead of the fire." Ellie stood. "That's not protection. That's control." Nora didn't argue, just watched her. Ellie turned to leave. "I threw the wheel in the creek. Then it'll come back." "It burned." "Still." "You're not scared of this, are you?" "I'm too old to be scared." Ellie paused in the doorway. "Then why do you keep looking over your shoulder?" Nora didn't answer. Ellie walked outside barefoot. The grass was cold. Dew already settled. The sky wasn't black, just bruised. Clouds heavy with something they wouldn't give up. She walked to the barn. The door stood half open like someone forgot to close it. Inside, it smelled like cedar again. Not the fresh kind, the old kind, the kind that meant something had been shaped here. Changed. She stepped in. The light bulb above flickered once, then died. She didn't flinch, just stood there, waiting. And from the rafters, the voice came again. "You think you buried me, but I'm built into this place." She whispered. "I didn't bury anyone." "No, but you're the only one digging." The silence after that was worse than the voice. She stood there a while longer, staring at the table where the wagon used to sit. The space was still empty, but she could feel it. Like memory had weight. Like something half-finished wanted to be whole again. Behind her, the creek gurgled low, like something speaking underwater, trying to come back up. The sun hadn't fully risen yet, but the barn was already lit. Not from the sky, from something else. Ellie didn't touch the switch. The bulb above her hummed anyway, casting pale light across the rafters and dirt floor. She wasn't looking at the wagon's old place. She was staring at the beam behind it, the hollow one, the one Saddle Reacher's name was once carved into, then sanded off like that could erase it. She pulled the hammer from the wall, wedged the claw under the plank where the grain warped. It resisted, then gave way with a low groan. Behind it, dust, mice nests. One rolled-up oilskin bundle rotted around the edges. Ellie unwrapped it slowly. Inside was an envelope, yellowed, no stamp, just handwriting in ink that hadn't faded. To MDR, she stared at the initials. Martha Delilah Reacher, her grandmother. She sat on the edge of the work table, tore the seal with a quiet rip. Inside were 2 sheets, one handwritten, one typed. The first read like a note passed under a door, not a letter. We agree on the method. He disappears. You raise the girl. No more wagons. No noise. No grave markers. No names spoken above whisper. If she ever builds one, destroy it. That means he got through. No signature. No goodbye. Just a stamped crest on the bottom corner. Same one on the courthouse seal. The governor's office. Ellie set it down. Picked up the second paper. A map. Burned around the edges, like someone wanted to destroy it, but lost nerve halfway. Red X's marked across it, 1 in town, 1 at the edge of the old mill, 2 along the ridge near the border, 1 directly over the graveyard. She counted 12. Each had a name scratched beside it. Faint pencil. Some first names only. Some just initials. 1 was her grandfather's badge number. She heard the barn door creak behind her. Put it back, Nora said. Ellie didn't turn. You knew. I buried it so you wouldn't. You should have burned it. I tried, but I needed to remember too. Ellie held up the letter. This is why he vanished. Yes, he didn't go rogue. No, he was ordered. Nora stepped into the light. Her face was pale. He followed orders until the orders got quiet. Then what? Then he kept going. Ellie stood, hold the map up. These people, what were they? Obstacles. To what? Clean rule, quiet names, power without eyes. Ellie dropped the map on the table. This is a death list. No, this is what history won't say out loud. You helped. I survived. Same thing. No, survivors still bleed. Ellie walked past her into the open doorway. The wind stirred. She didn't face her. You never warned me. I didn't think you'd wake it. I didn't. It came for me. Behind her, Nora's voice cracked. I'm sorry. You buried the truth with your hands, then prayed I'd never dig. I prayed you'd never need to dig. Ellie looked back once. He carved wagons for kids he never met. Yes. Why? To remember what he ruined. She walked out, sat on the porch rail, map in hand. The paper curled under the heat. She traced the X over the graveyard, then grabbed a pen from her pocket and drew a new one, right over their house. She held it up against the light, watched the ink dry. Behind her, the barn light clicked off without her touching it. She didn't go back in, just sat there, waiting for the next thing her blood already knew. The livestock pens smelled like sweat and heat. Sun bore down on the tin roofs, turning them to stovetops. The fairground looked the same as every year. Bleached hay, slumped flags, kids chewing rope candy, men leaning against rails like they owned something more than dirt. The sheriff stood near the cattle pens, clipboard in hand, nodding slowly at a blue-ribbon steer that wasn't even his. One hand on a young boy's shoulder, the other shaking a farmer's grip like it mattered. His badge gleamed in the sun, sharp and polished, like he didn't get it dirty on purpose. Ellie watched from the edge of the shade. Caleb saw her before she moved. He didn't wave, just stepped off the dirt path like he expected her to come. She did. You pick a winner? She asked. I don't judge livestock. But you wear the badge. Not mine. You polish it, though, he smirked. Didn't think you came here to talk about belts and metal. I didn't. Then talk. Ellie stepped closer. Does your daddy ever talk about Saddle Reacher? Caleb looked back toward the pens. The sheriff is still laughing with someone in boots too clean. He said Reacher wasn't human. Ellie raised her eyebrow. And you believe that? I believe my dad pisses himself when your name comes up. She didn't blink. What else does he say? That the town stayed quiet until the wrong woman had the wrong kid. And which one am I? Doesn't matter. You got his blood. Ellie crossed her arms. You scared of me too? No. You should be. I might be scared of what you'll dig up, but not you. Then you're dumber than you look. Caleb's smile dropped. I'm tired of acting like we don't know the same thing. Which is that your grandfather didn't go rogue. He got sent, just like mine. Ellie's jaw tightened. Are you saying your daddy worked with him? I'm saying my daddy watched, looked the other way, maybe opened a few doors. Ellie shook her head. Is he still in bed with the governor? Governor's dead. No, just older. Caleb looked past her, out toward the grain sheds. They're all just older now, different suits, same smell. Have you ever asked your dad why he's still got a job? He says he keeps things from breaking. Like your uncle. Caleb looked at her, eyes sharp. You don't say his name. Neither do you. He didn't deserve what happened, but he earned it. I don't know anymore. Ellie stepped in closer. What did Saddle do to him? Caleb's throat worked. Cut him out of the town, quiet. No charges, no bruises, just silence. People stopped calling. His paycheck stopped coming. The church stopped waving. Then, he walked into the woods one night, never came back. Did he deserve it? Don't know. Maybe. Ellie looked down at her hand. The bandage is gone now. Scar clean. Skin is still remembered. You think I'm him? She asked. No. You think I'm worse? I think you're unfinished. She looked up. So what do we do? Cut something open. Like what? Caleb leaned in, voice low. Like the truth. They stood in the heat. Neither moved. You got a shovel? Ellie asked. I got time. You got loyalty? I got a name I'd like to bury. They both looked toward the barn across the field. The roof shimmered, light glowing from inside that shouldn't have been on. No electricity out there. Ellie whispered. You see it? Yeah. Have you ever been in it? Not since I was a kid. You scared? Of what's inside? Of what's waking up? Caleb nodded once. Let's go find out. And they started walking, dust rising behind their heels. The sheriff is still laughing at the pens. Didn't see them leave. Didn't look back. The barn door was already open when Ellie reached it. Not wide, just enough to let the morning slow. The wind had dropped. Not even the tall grass moved. She stepped inside, one boot after the other, the air thick with something burnt. Not smoke. Ash and cedar, warm and sharp. She stopped. The wagon sat in the center of the floor, not half-built, not broken, full, complete. The wood was smooth, carved with care. The yoke curved perfectly. The wheels, every spoke clean, blackened just slightly like they'd been through fire and came out knowing more. She stared at it like it might move, like it had waited all night for her to show up. She whispered, I didn't finish you, but it didn't matter, because her hands had. She stepped closer, slow. The floor creaked once under her. The light from the rafters fell across the top rail. Something was etched into it. She crouched, squinted. Remember us. A sound rose behind her, low, dry, familiar. A voice. You carry the memory, girl. You don't get to drop it. She stood up straight. I'm not carrying anything. The voice didn't argue, just lingered in the boards, the nails, the space. She looked at the handle. It was stained darker than the rest, like hands had gripped it too long. You made it for someone, she said. Not for me. But the wagon didn't care. It just sat there, waiting. Footsteps in the doorway. Nora. She didn't speak right away. Just stood, one hand on the doorframe, eyes locked on the cart like it was something that might bite. Ellie didn't look back. Did you know it was done? Nora nodded once. I felt it. Smells like him. It always did. Ellie stepped aside. You gonna tell me what it's for? Nora walked in, boots quieter than Ellie expected. She stopped beside her. If you push it, Nora said, it'll take you where he went. Ellie looked at her. And where's that? Where silence doesn't work. The barn seemed to breathe then. The rafters groaned. Light shifted. Ellie reached out, touched the rail with 2 fingers. The wood was warm. Nora said, he carved the first one when your mama was born, said it was a gift. But no one ever saw her play with it. Why not? She was too scared of it. Ellie looked down. What happens if I ride it? You won't come back the same. And if I don't? You'll still carry it, just won't know where to take it. Ellie's voice dropped. He built this for me. He built it for whatever part of him got left behind. They stood there. The wagon didn't move. Ellie reached for the handle. Fingers closed around it, a sharp sting. She looked down. Her thumb was bleeding again, right over the same cut. And this time it ran all the way down the grip, soaked into the wood like it belonged there. She didn't pull away. She just gripped tighter and waited. The wagon rolled on its own. Ellie's hand stayed on the handle, but it didn't feel like she was guiding it. More like she was being pulled, steady, slow. Like the ground itself remembered where it needed her to go. The wheel tracks cut through dry grass and packed dirt, straight through the back field, past the oak tree with no leaves, past the fence with no gate. She didn't speak. The wind didn't either. Nora stood in the barn doorway and watched her go. Didn't call out. Didn't wave, just held her arms crossed and eyes locked on the cart as it vanished past the rise, like she'd seen this walk before, like it never ended the same way twice. Ellie stepped through the wire fence without ducking, the strands unwound for her like they were never nailed in place. The wagon rattled ahead, steady on the uneven ground. The sun hung low, the sky sharp with heat. No clouds, no birds. Half a mile out, the land changed. No grass, just red dirt and char. Burned tree stumps spaced out in long, strange rows. Old boundary lines, maybe. Maybe something older. The wagon creaked, then turned. Ellie followed. It crossed the stream bed, dry and cracked, led her over a barbed ridge and down into a cut valley she didn't remember ever seeing. At the bottom was a circle of stones, overgrown but still holding shape. Center of it, a pit. The wagon stopped. Ellie let go of the handle. Her thumb burned again. She looked down. The gauze had come undone. Her skin was split, fresh blood pooling just under the nail like it wanted out. She stepped up to the pit. Inside was water, black, thick, unmoving. Not a ripple, no reflection, just depth. Too deep for how shallow the pit looked from outside. A voice behind her. They ain't ghosts. She turned. No one. The voice again, from the trees. Their echoes. And you're the chamber. She didn't ask who it was. She already knew. You sent them here, she said. They followed. Because you made them disappear. Because they were already fading. I just helped. She stepped to the edge of the pit. This is where you dumped it? Yes. All of it. Truth, memory, my own name. Ellie reached into her pocket. The letter from the governor was folded tight, still warm, still unreadable by light. She held it over the water. You want this back? She asked. Silence. You're scared of what it says. You already know what it says. She nodded. I do. She dropped it. The paper hit the surface like a stone. Didn't sink. Just sat there, flat. Then burned. No spark. No smoke. Just fire. Bright and orange, spreading across the surface in waves. She stepped back. The pit lit up like the inside of a furnace. The stone ring glowed. From the flames, voices rose. Some were crying. Some laugh. Some were screaming without air. One voice whispering over them all. You came late. Ellie closed her eyes. You carry what I built. Even if you burn it, it still burns in you. She opened her eyes. I didn't ask for your name. But you carved it, without knowing. You made a weapon. I made a warning. She looked at the wagon. It hadn't moved. What now? She asked. You reach. For what? For what's left. The fire flickered low. The water pulled the flames inward, then down. The pit went dark. On the far edge, a figure stood. Not tall, not grand, just solid. Badge on the chest, shirt stained dark, mouth open like he was trying to speak, but couldn't. His eyes were locked on her. Ellie didn't step back, didn't blink. You're not real, she said. He didn't fade. You're not him. Still there. You're what's left of the lie. And then, slowly, he closed his mouth, turned. I walked back into the pit, and was gone. Ellie stood there a long time. No sound, no wind, just her in the wagon and the space where truth had burned. She walked around the pit once, picked up a stone, tossed it in. No splash. Then she turned and started back. but the wagon didn't follow. The wagon scraped over the dirt road like it hated being pulled. Its back left wheel wobbled now, blackened, half melted, still hot under the rim. Ellie didn't stop. She didn't glance back at the track she was leaving. The road into town curved once, then opened wide into the fairground. The same dusty field, the same white tents. Same tired men leaning against fences pretending not to watch everything they swore they didn't care about. But they watched her. She dragged the wagon straight down the middle of the path. Her boots kicked up dry dust behind her. Her hair stuck to her neck. Eyes straight ahead. The sky didn't move. The sun burned in place. People parted without being asked. And the sheriff was right where he always stood. By the stage. Right hand gripping the clipboard. Left thumb hooked through his belt, badge catching the light like it needed to shine harder than truth ever could. Caleb stood near the steps, shoulders stiff, jaw locked. Ellie stopped 10 feet from the sheriff. She didn't say anything yet, just stared. The sheriff raised an eyebrow. "You lost something, girl." She shoved the wagon forward. It hit the dry ground hard. Skidded to a stop at his feet. "You built this," she said. "I didn't touch a thing." "You didn't have to." People gathered without meaning to. Not a crowd. A circle. Heads tilted. Boots shifted. The sheriff looked down at the cart. "Looks burned." "It is." "Why bring it here?" "It belongs to you." He smirked. "That's not how I remember history." "No. You remember how it was paid to you." The wind picked up once. Died quickly. Ellie pulled something from her coat pocket. A tarnished badge. Dented. Old. The one from Saddle Reacher's coat. The one that never stopped burning even after death. She laid it in the wagon. Nothing happened for a breath. Then it caught. No match, no lighter, just fire. The badge glowed red, then white. The cart creaked like it remembered pain. The sheriff stepped back. Ellie didn't. "You were there," she said. He didn't respond. "You stood beside him. I watched him drag names off maps. You nodded when the governor smiled. You don't know what you're saying. I read it. Paper lies. So does silence." The fire curled up over the rim of the wagon, stayed there like it was listening. Ellie pointed. "You didn't clean this town. You rotted it and blamed the wind." He stepped forward, then caught himself. "You're still just a girl with old blood," he said. Ellie's voice didn't move. "And you're a man with none." Caleb took a step forward. He didn't touch the wagon, didn't look at his father. "She's not lying," Caleb said. The sheriff looked at him. "You shut your mouth." "No. You work for me. I was born under you. I don't work for you." Ellie looked between them. "Your father ran to this place with fear," she said. "My grandfather ran it with fire." She stepped back. "I'm not either of them." The badge cracked in the flames. The crowd didn't cheer, didn't speak. They just watched. Like they were watching their own house burn but couldn't find the nerve to throw water or scream. The sheriff's eyes dropped to the flames, then to Caleb, then back to Ellie. He turned. I walked, didn't say a word. The crowd broke for him. He disappeared into silence. At the edge of the field, Nora stood in shadow. She watched, then lowered her head. Ellie stood still, smoke curling around her fingers. The fire didn't spread. It just stayed where it belonged. Right there in the wagon, right there in history. And it didn't stop burning. The barn felt colder than before, not in temperature, in weight. Like the space had exhaled something heavy and didn't know what to do with the emptiness left behind. The wagon sat in the center of the floor where she'd left it after the fire. No flames now, no echo, just blackened wood and steel pins warped by heat. Ellie stood in the doorway, toolbox in one hand, crowbar in the other. She didn't pause, didn't wait for permission. This was the part she needed to do alone. She walked to the cart, set the box down beside it. I opened it. Tools rattled as she moved through them, searching for the socket wrench, the hammer, the flathead. Her fingers knew the weight of each piece like they were bones she'd once carried. She knelt beside the first wheel. The bolts were rusted into the axle. She gritted her teeth, leaned into the wrench. The metal squealed, gave. The wheel came off slow. She set it aside, moved to the next, then the next. The last one took the most work. It cracked when she loosened the last screw, rolled once on the floor, and stopped dead at her boot. One by one, she placed the wheels into the burn barrel out back. The bottom still held warm ash from the badge fire. She didn't light them yet. Back inside, she pried off the side rails. The nails bent under the hammer like they wanted to be free. She pulled until her palms blistered, sweat pooling at the base of her neck, trickling down her back. Each plank made a different sound when it snapped loose, like the cart had learned a different name with every victim it remembered. The yoke was last. It cracked in half when she stomped on it. The handle came free after 2 hits. She held it in both hands. Her thumb brushed the old bloodstain still dark along the grip. Her blood, her cut, her choice now. She threw it hard into the corner. It bounced once, didn't break. She picked it up again. This time, she carried it out back with the rest. She lit the fire. The flames rose slowly, yellow, then orange, then deep red. She didn't look away. The first wheel popped. The second smoked. The third hissed like it had breath inside. The fourth cracked down the middle. The rails curled as they burned. The yoke was slow to catch, but when it did, it burned hot. The handle didn't scream. It just blackened, then turned to nothing. Nora came up behind her sometime after the fire caught steady. Ellie didn't jump. She knew the steps, could feel her watching. "You gonna forget him?" Nora asked. Ellie didn't take her eyes off the flames. "No." Nora stepped closer. "Then why do this?" "Because I need to remember him without letting him live in me." Nora looked at the fire. "He'll come back anyway. Not in the way he wants." "You think you're strong enough?" "No. But I'm stubborn enough." The fire spit ash. Wind moved through the trees. The air didn't smell like cedar this time, just smoke and dirt. "Are you burying the rest?" Nora asked. Ellie nodded. "One piece left." They drove out to the hill just before sunset. The same road, same fence line, same slanted cross that marked the unmarked grave. Ellie carried the last piece in a small box. She'd carved her initials into the lid. Not Saddles, not the governor's, not even Nora's. Just E.L. plain, sharp, hers. The hill hadn't changed. She walked up alone. Nora stayed by the truck. Ellie knelt at the grave, dug a small hole with her hands. No shovel. Just fingers and dirt. The box fit tight. She set it on the ground and covered it slowly, pressed the soil down flat. No prayer, no apology. She stood. "You don't carry a legacy," she said. "You end it." The wind rose. Just a little. It blew her hair across her cheek. No voices came this time. No badge. No boots. Just wind. She turned back toward the truck. Nora met her halfway. I walked with her in silence. At the bottom of the hill, Ellie paused. "You believe in curses?" she asked. Nora shook her head. "Only the ones we feed." "Think it's done now." "It'll never be done. But I don't get to decide what happens next." They got in the truck. The sky turned gold as they drove. The town was far off. No one is waiting. Back at the barn, Ellie swept the last of the dust into a tin, labeled it, set it beside the others. Not to keep. Just to know it was real. That night, she slept, and for once she didn't dream of wagons. In the morning, she went back to the barn and opened every window. Let the sun fall where it used to hide. The floor was clean now. The sawdust is gone, just bare boards and air. She brought in a new plank of pine, laid it across the old sawhorses. I took a pencil, started drawing something rough. Not a wagon. A shape. Maybe a bird. Maybe a roofline. Something with angles and breadth. She didn't look at the references. I didn't need to. Her hand moved steady, sure, without echo. Caleb showed up around noon. His boots crunched the gravel as he approached the open barn. "Are you still building?" he asked. "Yeah," Ellie said. "What is it?" "Something small." He stepped closer. I looked at the piece of wood, ran his thumb across the grain. "Don't look like a cart." "It ain't." Caleb studied her face. "You okay?" "Not really." "You want to be?" "I want to be mine." He nodded. "That's fair." They stood quiet. "You bury it all?" he asked. "Most of it." "And the rest?" "I'll burn when I need to." Caleb leaned on the post by the door. "My daddy saw him once, the night he disappeared, came home white, told me never to ask what justice meant out here. I figured that out on my own." "Are you scared of turning into him?" "No," Ellie said. "I'm scared of thinking I have to." She turned back to the workbench, picked up the chisel, started shaving the first edge. "You want help?" Caleb asked. Ellie looked at him. "Can you carve without looking over your shoulder?" "Guess I'll learn." She handed him a second plank. He took it, sat across from her. They didn't speak for a while. The wood didn't resist. Nora watched from the porch, didn't interrupt. Later that evening, Ellie finished carving the first shape. It was a bird. Simple. Solid. The wings weren't even, and the tail was too square. But it is balanced. It stood. She set it on the windowsill. The barn light flickered once. Stayed on. No shadows moved. She packed up the tools, shut the barn door halfway, left it open at the top. The wind passed through softly. Inside, the table was clear. Outside, the land was still. Ellie stood on the porch as the sky turned violet. "You think we carry it forever?" she asked Nora. "We carry the choice," Nora said. Ellie nodded. "Then I choose to stop dragging it." "You sure?" "I'm sure." She went back inside. That night, she carved again. A door frame, a wheel that didn't turn, a handle with no cart. Her hands didn't shake. She didn't flinch when she nicked her thumb again. This time, she wiped the blood and kept working. "You can't build the past," Ellie whispered, "but you can choose what carries you." The barn door was wide open. No lock, no squeak, no darkness curling in the corners like it used to. Ellie left it that way on purpose. Light had to move in first if she wanted anything to stay different. She sat where she always did, at the old workbench. Same stool, same knife, new wood, no cedar, no smell of ash. This wood was soft and light, and didn't hold on to memory the way the last batch did. She'd picked it herself from the lumberyard, carried it back in the bed of the truck, and stacked it by the stall like she was starting a new language. The first piece had no shape yet, just smooth sides, just space. She pressed the edge of the blade into it. Slow. No hurry. The cut came clean. This time she wasn't building a wagon. Her hands didn't move like they remembered something they shouldn't. They didn't skip steps or carve corners out of instinct. She had to think. Focus. And when she got a curve wrong or made a mark too deep, she left it. Let it stay ugly. Let it mean she was present. That this piece wasn't someone else's memory sneaking through. The carving started to take shape late in the day. Wings folded. The body is curved and small. Beak sharp, but not long. A bird. Not flying. Not perched for flight. Just resting. Settled. She set it down. Moved on to the next piece. The house took longer. Rectangle at the bottom. Pitched roof. The roof slanted too far to the left, but she didn't sand it down. She liked that it leaned. There was no door on it yet. No windows. Just the idea of shelter. Somewhere solid. Third was the handle. Same length as the wagons, but lighter. She carved it flat. No groove at the base. No metal hooks. Nothing to pull. Just a handle meant to be held, not used. She smoothed the grip with a cloth and left the rest raw. All three sat on the table in front of her, side by side. Bird, house, handle. She didn't label them, didn't sign her name on the bottom. She just breathed out slow. Felt the air in the barn shift with the weight of what wasn't in it anymore. Outside, the wind moved through the grass without bothering her. No voices, no creaking beams, no fire under the floor, just wind. The next day, she started a new crate, lined it with cloth from Nora's chest, old muslin strips, soft and torn from something that might have once been a dress. She folded the bird in first, set the house beside it, laid the handle on top, then closed the lid and wrote the date in black ink across the top. No name, no destination, just a record that something had been made. By the time she started the next piece, a bowl with uneven edges, Nora had come by. She didn't walk in, just stood at the barn door, hand on the post, watching. Her coat was buttoned wrong, hair tied up like she hadn't meant to do it that way, but didn't care enough to fix it. "You're carving again," she said. Not a question. Ellie didn't stop her knife. "Yeah." "You building?" "Kind of." Nora squinted. "That other bird." "No." "What is it?" "Not sure yet." "You gonna sell 'em?" "No." "Then what for?" "I don't know." Nora nodded like she understood, even if she didn't. "Do you need anything?" "Just time." Nora backed up. "You got it." She left the way she came. Quiet boots, slow breath. Ellie finished the bowl, set it next to the crate, and didn't speak for the rest of the day. That night, the barn light stayed on longer than usual. No flicker, just light. The next morning, Caleb showed up. He didn't knock, just walked through the open barn door and stopped in the frame. Dust followed him in. His shirt sleeves were rolled. He had a scratch on his cheek, like he'd been fixing something too close to wire. "Are you still building?" he asked. Ellie looked up. "Yeah." Caleb walked forward, slow. Not hesitant, just respectful. His eyes went to the crate, then the table. He pointed. "That bird?" "Was." "What's it now?" "Just quiet." He picked up the house. I turned it over. "You didn't carve a door." "I haven't decided who gets in." "Are you ever gonna?" "Maybe." He nodded. "And the handle." "It doesn't pull anything." "So what's it for?" "Balance." Caleb smiled, but not with his mouth, just his eyes. He set the house back down gently. "You okay?" he asked. "Not really." "You gonna be?" "I don't think that's how it works." He leaned against the wall. "My father left." "I heard." "He didn't tell me where." "Would you have followed?" "No." She kept carving. "I think he was scared of what he saw burn," Caleb said, "but more scared of what didn't." Ellie looked up at him. "He saw you didn't run." He nodded once. That's the part that stayed with him. They didn't talk for a while. The knife kept moving. Grain turned to shape. She didn't name it yet. It didn't need one. "You hungry?" he asked. "Later." "You want company?" "Not yet." He pushed off the wall. "I'll come back." "I know." He walked out. Didn't look back. The barn door stayed open. She finished the piece by evening. It wasn't anything, just a piece of wood, shaped like a question she didn't have words for. She placed it in the crate without wrapping it. The grass outside moved like it finally forgot what it had been hiding. The barn was still, roof quiet, beams strong. The wind carried dust and heat, but not fire. She stepped outside, sat on the porch rail. I watched the sky roll orange over the field. Nora walked up slowly, carrying 2 mugs of tea, handed one to Ellie without speaking. They drank in silence. Nora asked, "You still hear him?" "Sometimes." "What's he saying?" "Less and less." "That's good." "I think so." "Do you ever talk back?" "No." Nora nodded. "Me neither." They stayed like that until the sun dropped low. Ellie set the mug down. "I didn't build the past." "No." "But I carried it." Nora looked out. "And you still might." Ellie shook her head. "Not the same way." They stood. I walked back toward the barn. At the edge of the frame, Ellie stopped. I looked at the bench. I looked at the crate, then at the land. Still, open, listening. She whispered, "You can't build the past." She paused. "But you can choose what carries you." The wind moved soft across the field, and the barn stayed open.